What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're talking about Escape Room. Escape Room is a 2019 psychological thriller that's all about the current fad of actual escape rooms, mysterious rooms filled with puzzles and riddles that people have to solve in an hour's time. And you might think it's corny, but I actually really like this movie. I think it's smart and it's clever, especially in its premise. After wanting to do one for so long, I finally went to an escape room last winter, and it was one of the funnest experiences I've ever had. The room itself was themed after Mission Impossible, and the riddles it contained were really difficult, but worth it. It makes sense for a movie to do this, especially if you've ever seen the Saw or Cube franchise, both of which contain escape room mechanics. I initially already wrote an in-depth review of the film when it first came out, and I'll try to leave a link to that review in the description box below. Just know that my opinion on the movie has changed. Specifically speaking, it's gotten better. So let's talk about this movie about a bunch of rooms purporting to be something that they're not. Let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, purport, to have the often specious appearance of being, aka claiming. Escape Room is about a group of people who gather together at an elaborate escape room game that offers a money prize of $10,000 to whoever wins. But not all as it appears to be, as these don't seem to be mere games. Whatever's happening in these games seems to be real, which puts these contestants into immediate danger. Like I said, if you're a fan of the Saw or Cube franchises specifically, you'll probably love this movie because both Saw and Cube had escape room mechanics before escape rooms were even a thing, really. That is, they contained rooms where people have to solve some kind of puzzle or riddle before they can go on to the next room. Escape Room isn't exactly anything new, but because it's PG-13 versus the hard R rating that other films like it have had before, this is hardly actually a horror film. Instead, without the gore, it's able to focus a lot more heavily on actual puzzles and, honestly, production design of the thing. I honestly feel like this is one of the funnest movies of 2019, even though it came out in January, and the thought put into the puzzles to make them really smart were perfect. They honestly feel more or less like actual escape rooms work, making me think that they consulted with escape room game masters to make sure everything worked out just right, even without the danger element. And bringing it back to the production design thing, that's one of the strongest elements of the film, period. Each room that they go through is really memorable and set up in smart ways. My personal favorite was the upside down bar, because not only is that really cool set design, but that also allowed for some really nice camera work too. The camera would often flip upside down, disorienting the audience in abstract ways. Is it a perfect movie? Absolutely not. One of my initial core complaints about the film still stands today, and that is it feels like whenever the film specifically needs there to be good acting, it's over the top and bad. Why? Because whenever the film doesn't have a bunch of actors on screen talking to each other trying to figure out the next puzzle, there's an individual character that kind of has to talk to themselves out loud for the audience to understand the riddle. You'll notice it with the first scene in the film, which acts as a prologue, very much like the Saw movies. The movie basically opens up with some guy going through an impossible riddle on his own, but he does not have Jigsaw telling him exactly what to do, so he tells the audience his thought processes. He's like, okay, I need a 4-digit code. Let's look over here. What are you pointing to? Oh, that's like a clock. He's pointing down, so that must be 6 o'clock. She's pointing right, so that must be 3. And if he was really in this situation alone, he would not be saying these things out loud. He just wouldn't. He wouldn't feel the need to. He'd be too afraid to speak. And that's part of the acting that kind of bothered me. I often had trouble believing that these people were actually scared of the situations of what they were experiencing because they were talking too much. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes the only way to express fear or hopelessness is silence. But at the same time, the film needed to convey to the audience what's happening. It's a bit of a catch-22, so I don't hate it. It's just an unfortunate necessity. Personally, I feel like this is a film that is either gonna entertain you or it's not. If you don't like puzzles, then you'll probably hate it, for all I know. From an unbiased technical vantage point, the only thing that technically stands out is some really good production design. Some good camera work, some smartly written riddles, but because it does have some questionable acting and casting for people that don't exactly feel born for the roles, that unbiased score is firmly at 70%. But this movie is all about entertainment and a fun time. That's why I absolutely love this movie, and my bias score is actually 94%. Averaging out the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 82%, 82 out of 100 possible stars, granting the movie with a letter grade of B-. My original score was 75% because essentially a number of tiny trivial imperfections in the movie bothered me. This time, I didn't even remotely care about most of those things, so my score at the end of the day was a bit higher. But let's hear your thoughts on Escape Room in the comments down below. Do you think it's as fun as I claim it to be, or am I alone? Have you been to a real escape room? And if not, why not? Go do it now. As for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this review, because there's always more like it coming out each and every single day. Hit the subscribe button and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie pick. Thanks for joining up with us.